Ilorin, a city in present-day Kwara State, Nigeria, began as a small Yoruba settlement. The name Ilorin itself came from a traditional Yoruba grinding stone used by early hunters and farmers in the area. The town was surrounded by thick forests, fertile land, and rivers that made farming and trade possible. It was first settled by Yoruba hunters who came from nearby towns like Oyo and Igbomina. Over time, Ilorin grew into a town that blended farming, hunting, and small-scale trading. In its early years, Ilorin was part of the larger Oyo Empire, one of the most powerful kingdoms in West Africa. The Oyo Empire was ruled by the Alafin, a mighty king who controlled many towns and villages through military strength and political alliances. The empire had strong traditions, a powerful cavalry army, and a complex political system. Every town within Oyo's territory had a chief or leader who represented the Alafin and kept order. For Ilorin, that leader became Afanja, a brave and ambitious warrior. Afanja was the son of Alimi, a respected figure in Yoruba history, and he rose quickly through the ranks of the Oyo military. Known for his courage and cleverness in battle, Afanja was later appointed as the Ade Onakakanfo, the generalissimo of the Oyo army. This title was the highest military honor in the empire. The Are Onakakanfo was not just a soldier, but the protector of the entire Oyo kingdom. The position came with great respect, but it also carried heavy risks. Tradition said that the Kakanfo must never be defeated in battle. If he was defeated, he had to take his own life. Such was the burden of the title. Afanja was stationed in Ilorin, which served as his base. From Ilorin, he commanded troops, kept an eye on the northern frontiers of the Oyo Empire, and protected the kingdom from raids by neighboring groups. But as time went on, Afanja began to grow restless under the rule of the Alafin. He felt he had the power, influence, and followers to act independently. Slowly, Ilorin began to transform from a loyal Oyo outpost into a town with its own ambitions. Tensions increased when Afanja clashed with Alaafin Aole, who was the ruler of Oyo at that time. Aole was not as strong as some of his predecessors, and his relationship with his generals was strained. According to history, Afanja and the Alafin had many disagreements, especially about military campaigns. In one case, Aole ordered Afanja to attack a town called Iwer, which was considered sacred and forbidden by tradition. Afanja refused, arguing that the order would bring disaster upon him and his men. This refusal marked the beginning of a deep rift between the Alafin and Afanja. Afanja's growing opposition to the Alafin made him look for new allies. In his search, he turned to groups that the Oyo elites usually did not trust, the Fulani and Hausa warriors who had begun to settle in the Ilorin area. Many of these Fulani were Muslim clerics and fighters who had been moving southward during the early 19th century, part of a larger wave of Islamic reform happening in northern Nigeria. They were skilled horsemen and fearless fighters, and Afanja saw them as useful allies in his bid to challenge the Alafin's authority. Among these Fulani was a man named Alimi, also known as Shehu Alimi or Sali Shanta, an Islamic preacher who had a growing influence in the area. Alimi was respected not only for his knowledge of Islam, but also for his wisdom and ability to organize people. Afanja welcomed Alimi and his followers into Ilorin, hoping that their support would strengthen his position against Oyo. With time, Afanja gathered a mixed army of Yoruba rebels, Fulani fighters, Hausa warriors, and even slaves who had been freed by Afanja to strengthen his numbers. This force gave him the confidence to resist the Alafin openly. When Alaafin Aole eventually faced rebellion across his empire, he cursed his generals before committing suicide. Among those cursed was Afanja, and Yoruba oral tradition says that this curse would later haunt him. With Oyo weakened, Afanja believed his moment had come. He ruled Ilorin as if it was his own kingdom, independent of the Alafin. He grew more powerful and feared, but he also became arrogant. His Jamas, once loyal, became restless and uncontrollable. Many of them were fighters without homes or families, living only for war and plunder. They did not respect Yoruba traditions or laws, and their violence spread fear in Ilorin and beyond. During this period, the Fulani under Alimi played a clever game. Unlike Afanja, who relied mostly on force, Alimi worked quietly, building influence among the people. He spread Islam in Ilorin, attracting followers who respected his teaching, discipline, and sense of justice. While Afanja's Jamas grew unruly, Alimi's followers gained trust and loyalty. The tension between Afanja and his Fulani allies soon became clear. Afanja had brought them in to strengthen his rule, but the Fulani were building their own power base. Alimi acted as a spiritual leader, and his sons and followers acted as military leaders. The balance of power in Ilorin began to shift. Finally, conflict broke out. The same warriors Afanja had relied upon turned against him. The Jamas no longer saw him as their true leader, and the Fulani were ready to strike. According to tradition, Afanja fought bravely, but he was betrayed by those around him. He was killed in a violent rebellion led by the very allies he had once welcomed. With Afanja's death, the Yoruba lost control of Ilorin. Leadership passed to Alimi's family and his Fulani warriors. Although Alimi himself died not long after Afanja, his son, Abdal Salam, took command. Abdal Salam was the first Fulani emir of Ilorin. Under his rule, Ilorin officially became an emirate, connected to the larger Fulani-led Sokoto Caliphate in the north. This change marked a dramatic shift in Ilorin's identity. Once a Yoruba military outpost of the Oyo Empire, it was now an Islamic emirate ruled by Fulani leaders. The new rulers introduced Sharia law, or Islamic law, built mosques, and encouraged the spread of Islam. Scholars and preachers came into the city, making it a center of Islamic learning in Yorubaland. Ilorin began to attract not only warriors, but also traders, scholars, and artisans who found opportunity under its new leadership. At the same time, Ilorin's military power was strengthened. Positioned between the northern emirates and the southern Yoruba towns, Ilorin became a frontier emirate. Its cavalry, modeled after the powerful horsemen of the Sokoto Caliphate, raided neighboring territories and defended the emirate from attacks. The Yoruba towns to the south, especially Ibadan, saw Ilorin as both a threat and a rival. Throughout the 19th century, Ilorin fought several wars with its southern neighbors. The most famous of these was the long rivalry with Ibadan, which had risen as a new Yoruba power after the fall of Oyo. Ilorin's cavalry clashed with Ibadan's infantry in many battles, each side trying to dominate the region. Although Ilorin never fully conquered the southern Yoruba towns, it maintained its position as a powerful military state. Culturally, Ilorin developed a unique identity. While the ruling elite were Fulani and closely tied to Sokoto, the majority of the people were still Yoruba. Over time, Islam spread widely among the Yoruba inhabitants, blending with local traditions. The city became a place where Yoruba language and customs existed side by side with Fulani Islamic practices. Even today, Ilorin is often called a melting pot, where two great cultures, Yoruba and Fulani, come together. The emirate also became a hub of trade. Its location between the north and south made it an important link for caravans carrying goods like kola nuts, horses, textiles, and, later, European products during colonial times. Traders from Hausa, Nupe, Fulani, and Yoruba backgrounds all passed through Ilorin's markets, giving the city a cosmopolitan character. By the late 19th century, the arrival of the British changed the political landscape. Like other emirates in northern Nigeria, Ilorin eventually came under colonial rule. The British recognized the authority of the emir, but placed him under their indirect control. This allowed the Fulani dynasty to continue ruling even during colonial and post-colonial times. Today, Ilorin remains the capital of Kwara State and an important Nigerian city. The Emir of Ilorin is still a respected traditional ruler, and the city retains its strong Islamic identity. At the same time, Yoruba culture remains vibrant, reflected in language, dress, and festivals. This dual heritage makes Ilorin unique in Nigeria, a city that is Yoruba in origin but Fulani in leadership and identity. The story of Ilorin is a reminder of how alliances, wars, and cultural exchanges can reshape a community forever. Afanja, in his bid for independence, invited the Fulani into his town. That decision led to his downfall, but it also created a new kind of city, one that would outlive both him and the Oyo Empire.